Hello everyone, welcome to our class. My name is Chen Lee. In today's sections, we will talk about Introduction to Server 2008 and Planning for Server. This is today's outline. First, we will give a short introduction to Server 2008. Then talk about 64-bit computing and virtualized computing. After that, we will show architectural improvements for Server 2008. Then the final part in today's sections, we will give an overview of planning and planning steps. Windows Server 2008 is a powerful, versatile, and fully featured server operating system. And if you have been using Windows Server operating system for a while, I think you will be impressed as well. Why? For starters, Windows Server 2008 includes a significantly enhanced operating system kernel, the NT 6.1 kernel. As this kernel is also used by Windows Vista with Service Pack 1 or later. The two operating systems share a common code base and many common features, allowing you to readily apply what you know about Windows Vista to Windows Server 2008. A primary purpose of Windows Server 2008 is to ensure that the operating system can be optimized for use in any networking scenario. An edition of the server operating system is available to meet your organization's needs. Whether you want to deploy a basic server for hosting applications, a network server for hosting domain services, a robust enterprise servers for hosting essential applications, or highly available data center servers for hosting critical business solutions. Microsoft produced multiple editions of the operating systems with varying features to match the needs of any organizations. In addition to offering 32-bit, 64-bit, and embedded versions of the operating system, Microsoft introduced the Windows Web Server as a low-cost server operating system for providing basic web applications hosting services. Windows Server standards as the domain service operating systems, Windows Server Enterprise as the robust solutions for essential applications and large organizations, and Windows Server Data Centers as the solution for critical business operations. Thus, the four main product editions are these: Windows Server 2008 Standard, available in 32-bit and 64-bit versions. This is the replacement for Windows Server 2003 Standard editions. Windows Server 2008 Standard is the workhorse versions of operating systems. It comes with a bunch of new features that are exclusive to Windows Server 2008, as you had expected. And it also includes a few unexpected surprises, including many enhancements for storage area network, storage reporting, and improved access services. Servers running Windows Server standards can host a single distributed file systems, namespaces, which can be either a standalone namespace or a domain-based namespace. They can also act as Active Directory Federation Service web agents. Windows Server Standard is optimized to provide domain services, such as name resolution with DNS, automatic IP address assignments with Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, DHCP, Transmission Control Protocol Internet Protocol, TCP/IP, networking, printing, and faxing in a small to moderately sized network environment. This edition supports 2-way and 4-way symmetric multiprocessing and up to 4 GB of memory on 32-bit systems and 32 GB on 64-bit systems. Windows Server 2008 Enterprise available in 32-bit and 64-bit versions. This is the replacement for Windows Server 2003 Enterprise editions. Windows Server 2008 Enterprise is the robust media to large enterprise solution specifically designed for multi-departmental use. Unlike Windows Server Standard, Windows Server Enterprise supports clustering with up to 8 node clusters and very large memory configuration of up to 32 GB on 32-bit systems and 2 TB on 64 systems. It allows you to use the Federation Service and Federation Service process with ADFS. It also allows you to use multiple DFS namespace. Windows Server 2008 Data Center available in 32-bit and 64-bit versions. This is the replacement for Windows Server 2003 Data Center Edition. This edition is designed to host business-critical systems and solutions using a minimum of 8 processors and a maximum of 64, and include all the features of Windows Server Enterprise. Plus, it supports clustering for up to 8 nodes, and it increased VLM support, allowing for configurations of up to 64 GB of memories on 32-bit systems and 2 TB on 64-bit systems. Windows Web Server 2008, available in 32-bit and 64-bit versions. This is the replacement for Windows Server 2003 Web Editions. Windows Web Server 2008 is the fourth option. It supports up to 2 GB of RAM and 2 CPUs, and is designed, as the name implies, to provide web services primarily for hosting websites and web-based applications on the internet and intranet. As with all the other editions of Windows Server 2008, it supports Internet Information System IIS 7.0, ASP.NET, and the Windows.NET framework. These technologies work together to make the sharing of application services in web environments possible. However, Windows Web Servers does not include many of the other common features of Windows Server 2008. The biggest feature missing is the Active Directory, which means that servers running Windows Web Server cannot be domain controller. Other servers in the data center can provide this functionality. However, and so servers running Windows web server can be part of an Active Directory domain. In addition, although network load balancing support is included in Windows web servers, the only other features it has in common with the other versions of Windows Server 2008 are the following. Distributed File System, DFS, single namespace only. Encrypting File System, EFS, remote desktop for administrations. Because of this, Windows Web Server cannot provide internet connection sharing, network bridging, or faxing services. And although it includes the remote desktop, it doesn't include terminal services. It means you can access a server running Windows web server using remote desktop, but cannot run applications on it remotely using terminal services. Windows Server 2008 supports two different 64-bit architectures. The first architecture is based on 64-bit extensions to the x86 instruction set, which is implemented in AMD Opteron AMD 64 processors, Intel Xeon processors with 64-bit extension technology, and other processors. This architecture offers native 32-bit processing and 64-bit extension processing, allowing simultaneous 32-bit and 64-bit computing. The second architecture is based on the explicit parallel instruction computing EPIC processor architectures, which is implemented in Intel Itanium IA64 processors and other processors. This architecture offers native 64-bit processing, allowing 64-bit applications to achieve optimal performance. 64-bit computing is designed for performing operations that are memory intensive and they require extensive numeric calculations. With 64-bit processing, applications can load large data sets entirely into physical memory, that is RAM, which reduces the need to page to disk and increases performance substantially. Virtualized computing. Windows Server 2008 Hyper-V is a virtual machine technology that allows multiple guest operating systems to run concurrently on one computer and provide separate applications and services to client computers as shown in figure. As part of the Hyper-V features, which can be installed on servers with x64-based processors that implement hardware-assist virtualizations and hardware data execution protections. The Windows hypervisor acts as the virtual machine engines, providing the necessary layers of software for installing guest operating systems. And you can, for example, use this technology to concurrently run Unix, Linux, and Windows Server 2008 on the same computer. Architecture improvements, if you want to truly know how Windows Server 2008 works and what makes it tick, you need to dig under the hood. Digging under the hood means taking a look at the NT kernel, the boot environment, the support architecture. Kernel architectures, Windows Vista SP1 or later uses the NT 6.1 kernels, the same kernels that Windows Server 2008 uses. Sharing the same kernels means that Windows Vista SP1 or later and Windows Server 2008 share the following components as well as others. Automatic updates, responsible for performing automatic updates to the operating systems. BitLocker drive encryptions, provides an extra layer security for servers' hard disks. Remote assistance provides an assistant feature that allows an administrator to send a remote assistant invitations to a more senior administrator. Remote desktop provides a remote connectivity features that allows you to remotely connect to and manage a server from another computer. Task scheduler allows you to schedule executions of one-time and recurring tasks, such as tasks used for performing routine maintenance. Windows Defenders help to protect a server from spyware and other potentially unwanted software. And Desktop Experience installs additional Windows Vista desktop functionalities on the servers. Windows Firewalls help to protect the computers from attacks by unauthorized users. Windows Time synchronizes the system's time with world time to ensure that the system time is accurate. And wireless networking installs the wireless networking features to enable wireless connections. And boot environment. Windows Server 2008 is the first truly hardware-independent versions of the Windows Server operating systems. Unlike earlier releases, Windows Server 2008 does not boot from an initialization file. Instead, the operating system uses the Windows Boot Managers to initialize and start the operating systems. The boot environment dramatically changed the way the operating system starts. The boot environment was created by Microsoft to solve several crinkly problems related to boot integrity. Operating system pre-integrity and firmware abstractions. The boot environment is loaded prior to the operating system. And making a pre-operating system environment as such, the boot environment can be used to validate the integrity of the startup process and the operating system itself before actually starting the operating systems. Support architectures Windows Server 2008 includes extensive support architectures. At the heart of this architecture is built-in diagnostics, the next generation automated help system. Microsoft designed built-in diagnostics to be self-correcting and self-diagnosing, and failing that, to provide troubleshooting assistance while you are diagnosing problems. Built-in diagnostics are primarily implemented through Network Diagnostic Framework, NDF. Windows Diagnostics Infrastructure, WDI. NDF is complementary to WDI. NDF diagnoses connectivity and networking issues. WDI diagnoses device, memory, and performance issues. Windows Server 2008 includes several related diagnostics tools as well. A network diagnostics framework. Network awareness tracks changes in network configurations and connectivity. Network discovery controls a computer's ability to detect other computers and devices on a network. Network awareness is a key component in the network diagnostics framework. It allows Windows Server 2008 to detect the current network configurations and connectivity status. This is important because many networking and security settings depend on the type of network to which a computer running Windows Server 2008 is connected. And Windows Server 2008 has separate configurations for domain networks, private networks, and public networks, and is able to detect when you change a network connections as well as whether or not the computer has a connection to the internet. If you disconnect a computer from one network switch or hub and plug it into a new network switch or hub, you may inadvertently cause the computer to think it is on a different network. And depending on the group policy configurations, this could cause the computer to enter a lockdown state, where additional network security settings are applied. As shown in figures, you can view the network connection status in Network and Sharing Center. And Windows Diagnostics Infrastructures. Windows Diagnostic Infrastructure, WDI, is an extensive diagnostics and problem resolution architecture that offers improved diagnostics guidance. Additional error reporting details, expanded event logins, and extensive recovery policies. Many other enhancements in conjunction with WDI help to improve the overall performance of Windows Server 2008. These enhancements include changes to device drivers and I/O management, modifications to the application's update process, optimized memory and process usage, enhanced recovery from service failures, an overview of planning. A clear roadmap can help with any complex projects, and deploying Windows Server 2008 in the enterprise is certainly a complex project. A number of firms have developed models to describe IT processes, such as planning and system management, often used by their consulting group, each of which offers its own structured methods of approaching a complex project. The Microsoft Solutions Framework Process Model. Microsoft has defined its own formalized processes for implementing IT solutions and network management. Two models are used: the Microsoft Solution Framework, MSF, which defines the deployment project methods, and the Microsoft Operations Framework, MOF, which has operations administrations as its focus. Like any other process models, the MSF and MOF models have gone through several evolutions. At the time of these writings, Microsoft has gone to a team system approach. The MSF version 4 process model defines the following phases. Envisioning. During the first phase, project goals are defined and clarified. Planning. After the goals and the scope has been agreed upon, you have to translate information into functional specification that documents and the specific features, services, and configuration options that are required to achieve the goals. Building. During this phase, the Windows Server 2008 infrastructures, any required custom code, applications or scripting, and documentations are developed. And stabilizing. When the new environment has been created in the lab, it is thoroughly tested prior to deployment. Deploying. Finally, you deploy Windows Server 2008 into the production environment. Governing. From project inceptions to completions and beyond, one or more individuals on the IT management team will be responsible for developing the overall project characters and team orientation guidance. These stages are seen as occurring more or less linearly, but not exclusively so. In late stages are commonly revisited at multiple points along the way. The deployment process can be broken down into a roughly sequential set of tasks. Identifying the team. For all but the smallest rollouts of the new operating systems, a team of people will be involved in both the planning and deployment processes. The actual size and the compositions of this team will be different in each situation. Collecting the right mixtures of skills and expertise will help ensure the success of your projects. Assess your goals. Any business undertaking the move to Windows Server 2008 has many reasons for doing so, only some of which are obvious to the IT department. It is important to carefully identify the goals of the entire company before determining the scope of the project to ensure that all critical goals are met. Analyze the existing environments, examine the current network environment. Even if you think that you know exactly how everything works, you will often find you are only partially correct. Windows Server 2008 offers a number of security and management improvements, and it is useful to know which ones are particularly important in your environment. Define the project scope. Project scope is often one of the more difficult areas to pin down, and one that deserves particular attention in the planning process. It's not often that a wish list of features and capabilities from entire company can be fulfilled in an initial or even later deployment. Design the new network environment. After you have pinned down the project scope, you must develop a detailed design for the new operating system deployment and the affected portions of the network. Test the design. Thorough testing in the lab is often overlooked, but critically important. Part of deploying a new network operating system, install Windows Server 2008. After you have validated your design in the lab and management has approved the deployment, you can begin to install Windows Server 2008 in your production environment. The installation process has two phases. Pilot phase. During the pilot phase, you will deploy and test a small group of servers running Windows Server 2008, and perhaps clients running Microsoft Windows Vista in the production environment, and roll out. After you have determined that the pilot phase was a success, and you can begin the rollout to the rest of the company. As mentioned, these steps are generally sequential, but not exclusively so. You are likely to find that as you walk through one phase of planning, you must return to activities that are technically part of the earlier phase. This is actually a good thing because it means you are refining your plan dynamically as you discover new factors